Yo, what is up, you fabulous bunch of people, and welcome back to the race rundown following on from the electrifying race weekend at Baku. Right, we have a lot to get into, so as always, let's get into it. My first point I have here is that Norris made up 2 places in lap 1. Let's go. Qualifying was not great for Lando Norris. However, it could have been worse. Let's be honest, it could have been worse. He qualified in 16th. Not great. With the top 3 being obviously Charles, Oscar and Carlos, closely followed by Checo, George and Max down in 6th. As always, we had some people starting from the pits. We had some people making all the changes before the race and taking grid place penalties. That is not a shock. We are used to this kind of situation. So, following on from the disaster that is qualifying, Lando makes up places in the first lap. Then we have Lance Stroll and Yuki Tsunoda. Who do we think is to blame for that? I'm not sure. I personally think that Stroll was to blame for that. I think, as always, he hopped on the radio very quickly. Oh, Tsunoda closed the door on me. Yeah, how many times have fellow drivers closed the door on you? And how many times does that need to happen before you realise you are the issue? Just saying. We all know how I feel about Stroll. So, I just wanted to throw that in here. Will Adrian Newey be putting up with that shit when he moves to Aston Martin next year? Who knows? Somebody needs to help the poor guy out. So then, lap 16, Yuki Tsunoda retires from the race in Azerbaijan as a result of the collision with Lance Stroll in lap 16. Then, at this point, it gets interesting. For all the McLaren fans out there, there has been a lot of confusion, anger, turmoil towards the term papaya rules and what McLaren are playing at this current moment in time. Another prime example of this, they did not leave enough of a gap between Perez and Oscar to do a safe pit stop for him to maintain second position. So what did they do? Rather than being adults about it, they used Lando as a barrier between Oscar and Checo. Yeah, silence is deafening and you can definitely tell how I feel about that. Not ideal. However, Lando, albeit he's a bit grumpy recently, but he has managed to play the team game and help Oscar maintain second position, albeit only just to Checo. The whole time that this was going on, we had Ollie in the points. We had Colapinto in the points. Nobody was focusing on them, however, as the battle between Oscar and our friend Charles was heating up. It was definitely heating up. Charles was not going without a fight and he was trying his damnedest to get in front of that McLaren. However, lap 48, Leclerc has pushed hard. Okay? Pushed hard. On lap 49, so the clock is ticking, on lap 49, after pitting from the hards and going on to mediums, Lando makes up over 15 seconds and on lap 49 out of 51 overtakes Max. I don't know how he managed to put in screaming laps like that, but fair play to the man. It was enough to get my vote for driver of the day. So fair play to the man. Then I was very excited about this. Obviously, at this point in the race, on lap 49, 50 and 51 out of 51, you think to yourself, there is no possible way that anything dramatic could possibly happen, right? It's the last 3 laps of a race. There's no way. Well, ladies and gentlemen, Checo Perez heard that. Heard the universe's cry for a little bit of entertainment this past weekend in Azerbaijan and said, hold my tequila. Hold my tequila, bitches. And boy, did it make it exciting. So we're going to run into that now. And then I'm going to ask the all-important question. But we'll come to that in a second. Lap 50. Perez goes to overtake Charles, whose tyres have fallen off a cliff. The gap between him and Oscar is getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Perez catches up. overtakes Leclerc, or tries to. At this point, Leclerc is not giving it up. Sainz sees a gap, overtakes Checo, tries to have a little bit of bite of the cherry when it comes to Leclerc. However, Checo says, nah fam, if I can't be in third place, neither can you. And on lap 50, the absolute unthinkable happens. Now, please picture this. If you're listening, picture this in your mind's eye. If you're listening to this on YouTube, just close your eyes for a second. Unless you're driving, then please don't close your eyes. And just imagine me in front of the television. Becks, your podcast host, in front of the television, thinking, well, that's it. Oscar's won. Nothing more important is going to happen. I put down my phone with my notes for this very podcast, thinking nothing could possibly be added to this. It's going to be a pretty mundane episode of the race rundown. However, the Lord and Saviour, Checo Perez, decides that if he can't have third place, nobody can. And causes, potentially, depending on who you believe, a collision between him and Mr. Carlos Sainz. Straight into the wall. Damn, son. Damn. You made me pick up my phone and add to my notes. God damn. God damn it. I thought I was done for the day. I thought I'd put in my shift and I could stop. But no. Checo had other ideas. But that's fine. Thank God everyone was safe. But this is the part where I want to pause and say, who do we think was responsible for that? I, as you have probably just heard from me talking about it, think personally that it was Checo's fault. However, when I watch back the footage, I feel like it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I feel like Sainz is trying to regain position to the left. Checo should have left room and moved to the left as he had plenty of room. However, he did not. And that is what caused the collision. So I think, as much as I instinctively thought, yeah, Checo's to blame for that, when you look at it from different angles, thank God for Sky F1, there is a possibility, and I'm not blaming anybody. Well, I kind of was at the beginning, but I'm not now. I'm not blaming anyone in particular. It's just that the more you look at it, the more you see that it's definitely a half and half situation, in my opinion. But let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Then we have the final three. Piastri obviously taking the win, Charles in second, and as a result, the Latifi of it all, we then had George on the podium once again, which must be really pissing Hamilton off. Just saying, like, you know, technically your number 2 driver, who's going to be obviously number 1 at Mercedes for the foreseeable when Lewis makes that jump over to the dark side. It must be hard to see the team you're racing with favour the number 2 driver. At least that's what it feels like right now. It must be hard, especially as a 7-time world champion. Obviously, he knows he's not going to win, but he knows he's not going to win the world championship, but a couple race wins would be nice. And I feel like George is just outperforming Lewis at near enough every stage at this point. And it's embarrassing, really. It's embarrassing. Again, do I think that's in part down to the fact that he's leaving? I do, yeah. His race engineers are probably gearing up for next year's car now that we're reaching the sort of back end of the World Championship. And of course they're going to add more upgrades to George's car. He's the one that's staying, ultimately. You know, he's the one that is staying on with the team, putting in that dedication, growing with them, and Lewis has decided to leave. So that's my thoughts on that. Now that we've done the race rundown, very quick, very brief, I want to go into some off the track news. I haven't bought any more turbo attacks. I want to start there. I have been very good and not bought any more. That little bit of off-the-track news, there's no new turbo attack announcements. The next bit of off-the-track news that I'm very excited about is that we now have an official Race Rundown Facebook page that is open to the public and is linked in our show notes. So it's in the descriptions on Spotify, Apple, anywhere you can listen to the podcast, and it's in our YouTube description. So if you love the show and you want to connect with me and you want to connect with other like-minded people who also enjoy F1, we have a Facebook page And we would really love to see you over there. So if you guys want to give it a follow, come join us, share the love, share the memes, share the absolute chaos of K-Mag coming back for the last 7 races of the season. And just enjoy the race rundown with us, I guess. It's a bit more of a community vibe over there. You know, we can all enjoy the good vibes. That's that, really. You may be thinking now, following on from Baku this past weekend, Becks, Lando came 4th. He came ahead of Max. Where does that put both McLaren in the Constructors and Lando in the Drivers' Championship? Well, my lovely viewers, I am glad you asked. McLaren, as of the past weekend, are now 20 points clear of Red Bull in the Constructors. Woo! Let's hope they can maintain that lead. That would be fantastic if they could. Then we have a 70-point lead that is now down to a 59-point lead thanks to the fastest lap and Lando's positioning in the race the past weekend. So fan-flipping-tastic. With all of that excitement as well, special shout out to Ollie and Colapinto, to be honest. I feel like them two scoring points, especially Ollie, as he's still in F2. Obviously, Colapinto's just come into F1 as well. So, you know, he's relatively new. However, Ollie is still in F2 for now, until next year when he starts racing for Haas, right? So shout out to him for being one of the youngest drivers on the grid and finishing in the points. He was quite harsh on himself in post-race interviews and stuff. However, I think he's done a bloody good job, to be honest. I think he did a really good job to finish in the points. The fight between him and Lewis, I feel like he did really well to hold off that 7-time world champion at his age. He did really well. And I know a lot of people will say, oh, well, you know, the Mercedes isn't performing the way it used to and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yes, I understand that. But, you know, for somebody of his age to be able to hold off a 7-time world champion, that's good going. Like, you can't deny that at all. You can't deny that. So shout out to Ollie. As well, another fantastic announcement, which I am so excited about, by the way. For anybody who loves Lego as much as I do, I've never voiced this on the podcast. I have a little bit of an obsession with Lego. Being a McLaren girly, I, of course, have the McLaren F1 car. I have built it. It is wall-mounted in my bedroom, and I am not ashamed. My partner loves it. Kieran loves it. For all those that don't know Kieran or anything about Kieran, feel free to go listen to last week's episode. He was on here and it was great to have him, and I hope you guys really enjoyed that episode. So I have a bit of an obsession with Lego, and they've obviously, since the McLaren car released the Mercedes car, they've released an Aston Martin Speed Champions version. They now have a Formula E. They have the smaller version of the Mercedes and the McLaren. And today they have released a statement that Formula One and Lego are combining forces in 2025 to make sets for all ages. And I'm very, very excited. I'm going to be very poor. Very, very poor indeed. Because I will have to not only purchase the Lego sets. I'm still yet to buy the Aston Martin one, by the way. I will not only have to purchase the Lego sets, but I will need more shelves to put the Lego sets on. So that's a great announcement. In terms of other announcements that we're waiting for, obviously there's a couple more driver slots to fill on the grid at this stage, with an announcement expected for the second Sauber driver very soon. Who do we think that will be? Let me know your potential predictions in the comments. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about that. And the final off-track news that I have for this episode of the Race Rundown is that Bahrain is set to host the 2025 pre-season testing on the 26th, 27th and 28th of February. Now, I know what you're thinking, Becks. It's February. We're only in September. I know. But I am already thinking ahead. I'm already thinking ahead. We've got Sainz at Williams. We've got Lewis at Ferrari. It's going to be bedlam. But I'm excited. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. Obviously, it's race week this week. It's race week this week. And we are in Singapore. We are in Singapore on the 20th of September. With practice starting on Friday at 10:30 in the morning. Practice 2 at 2 o'clock. Practice 3 at 10:30 on Saturday, with qualifying at 2 o'clock. And the race at 1 o'clock on Sunday. I like Singapore, personally, so that should be a good race. However, I have a little bit of a exciting personal announcement, I suppose. I am heading to a very exciting destination on Saturday, and I will be vlogging it. I know, wow. Not a face reveal, because I've shown you guys my face before, but if you're new here, you will have never have seen my face before. I tend not to show my face on camera too much at the moment, because I'm still trying to figure out the logistics of that, but I will get there. I'm going to a very exciting location with a couple of friends of mine, my F1 friends I have mentioned on here a couple times now. We're going to a very exciting location, and I'm very excited about it. I won't be recording too much of it, because I don't want to ruin it for anyone that would potentially like to go. However, I will film snapshots, I will take some photos, of course, and I'll introduce you to my F1 friends if they want to be on camera. Again, I'm never going to force anybody to be on camera. Anyone that you will ever meet in my life that has been on the podcast in audio form, in video form, I'm never going to force anybody. So if they don't want to be on camera, fine. But that is something for you to look forward to, okay? We will do a race rundown plus a mini debrief. We'll call it a debrief. So, until the weekend, I've been your girl Becks. This has been the race rundown, and I'll see you next week. Peace!